Captain Tae-min Kim stood on the bridge of the UNS Indomitable and stared at the impossible sight before him. Through the massive window, he could see ships. Hundreds of them. But these were not human ships. These vessels glowed with strange colors, their hulls made of materials he had never seen before. Some looked like flowing water frozen in time. Others appeared to be made of living crystal. A few seemed to shift and change shape as he watched. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," said Ji Ah-yoon from her station. The young communications officer looked nervous. Her hands shook slightly as she worked her console. "It's in I don't know how many languages. The computer is trying to translate." Tae-min nodded slowly. This was it. Humanity's first contact with alien life. 3 months ago, Earth had finally cracked faster-than-light travel. The Indomitable had been chosen for the first deep space mission. They had jumped to a star system 40 light-years from Earth, expecting to find empty space and distant planets. Instead, they had found this, a gathering of alien ships that made Earth's most advanced technology look like children's toys. "Put it through," Tae-min said. The main screen flickered. An alien face appeared. Tae-min tried not to show his shock. The being was tall and thin, its body made of what looked like clear crystal. Light moved through it in patterns, creating colors that shifted and changed. When it spoke, the words came out in perfect Korean. "Human vessel, I am Counselor Velther of the Luminari species. You have entered space controlled by the Galactic Coalition. We have been expecting you." "Expecting us?" Tae-min asked. "We detected your first faster-than-light experiment 3 months ago. The energy signature was ... unmistakable." The crystal being's color shifted to what might have been amusement. "Welcome to the greater galaxy. Captain Kim, you are the 48th species to join our coalition. Over the next 6 hours, Tae-min learned that humanity had just become the newest member of something vast and ancient. The Galactic Coalition had existed for over 3,000 years. 47 different species lived in peace, sharing technology and resources. They had rules, many rules, and one of the strongest rules was about warfare. War is forbidden within Coalition space, Velther explained during the meeting aboard the Luminari flagship. Tae-min sat at a table with Admiral Sang-ho Choi, who had been sent from Earth to handle negotiations. Dr. Hae-won Park sat beside them, recording everything with wide eyes. "However, we understand that conflicts arise. When they do, they must follow the military convention." "Convention?" Admiral Sang-ho asked. The older man had fought in 3 wars on Earth. He had scars that proved it. "All combat must use approved weapons only," Velther said. "Energy weapons such as plasma cannons and directed energy beams. Kinetic missiles that travel no faster than 5% the speed of light. All ships must carry defensive shields. No biological weapons. No nuclear weapons. No primitive ballistic weapons." Dr. Hae-won looked up from her notes. "Primitive? What do you mean?" Another alien spoke up. This one was reptilian, with 4 powerful arms and scales that gleamed like metal. "I am General Krenth of the Drakkar species. We once fought wars with projectile weapons. Bullets, shells, missiles. They caused too much death. Too much destruction. 3,000 years ago, we all agreed to fight differently. Cleaner, more controlled. You're telling us how to build our weapons?" Admiral Sang-ho said quietly. "We are offering you the benefit of 3,000 years of wisdom," Velther replied. "Species that refuse to follow Coalition standards are not welcomed. And species outside the Coalition do not survive long. The galaxy is dangerous, Admiral. You need us." Tae-min watched the Admiral's jaw tighten. He knew that look. Sang-ho was angry, but he was holding it in. The next day, the Coalition arranged a demonstration. Tae Min, the Admiral, and Dr. Hee-won were taken to observe a military exercise. Coalition ships faced off against drone targets. They watched as plasma bolts lit up space like lightning. Missiles streaked across the darkness at controlled speeds. When they hit the targets, shields flared and absorbed most of the damage. Everything was precise, controlled, almost gentle. Impressive, Tae Min said politely. Standard tactics, General Krenth said with pride. Shield walls hold the line. Plasma cannons weaken enemy shields. Then boarding parties take the ships. Few casualties. Very civilized. After the demonstration, Dr. Hee-won pulled Tae Min aside. Did you notice? She whispered. Notice what? Their technology hasn't changed. I've been reading the historical records they gave us. They've been fighting the exact same way for 3,000 years. Same weapons. Same tactics. Same everything. Tae Min frowned. You think that's a problem? I think that's stagnation, Hee-won said. They've become comfortable. Maybe too comfortable. The meetings continued for 2 weeks. Finally, the Coalition made their offer. Humanity would be given territory in the outer rim of Coalition space, near an area called the Void. It was frontier space, far from the wealthy core worlds. In return, Earth had to follow all Coalition laws, including the military convention. You have 10 years, Velther said at the final meeting. 10 years to rebuild your fleet, according to Coalition standards. Decommission all primitive weapons. We will send advisors to help you. Admiral Sang-ho stood slowly. And if we refuse? Then you are not part of the Coalition, Velther said simply. And species outside the Coalition do not last long. There are things in the darkness between stars, Admiral. Things that would consume your homeworld without mercy. We protect each other, but only if we all follow the same rules. That night, Tae Min found Admiral Sang-ho in the observation lounge. The older man was drinking coffee and staring at Earth's sun, visible as just another star from this distance. They think we're children, Sang-ho said without looking up. Primitives who need to be taught the proper way to fight. Maybe they're right, Tae Min said carefully. They've kept peace for 3,000 years. Peace. Sang-ho laughed bitterly. They've kept stagnation. Did you see their weapons demonstration? It was like watching a dance. Everyone knowing exactly what the other will do. No surprises. No innovation. He turned to Tae Min. That's not how humans fight. We adapt. We innovate. We find new ways to win. What are you thinking, sir? Sang-ho smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. I'm thinking that maybe we should follow their rules. At least publicly. But privately. He paused. Privately, I think we should remember that humanity didn't become the dominant species on Earth by playing fair. We became dominant by being smarter than everything trying to kill us. Tae Min felt a chill run down his spine. That sounds like you're planning something. I'm planning for humanity to survive, Captain. Whether the Coalition likes our methods or not. Admiral Sang-ho finished his coffee. Get some rest. We have a long journey back to Earth, and a lot of work to do when we get there. As Tae Min returned to his quarters, he looked back at the Coalition fleet one last time. The alien ships glowed peacefully in the darkness, confident in their power and their ancient ways. He wondered if that confidence was strength or weakness. Only time would tell. 3 years had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Coalition. To anyone watching, humanity had been the perfect student. The shipyards of Mars and Luna churned out vessels equipped with plasma cannons and energy shields. Human officers attended Coalition military academies, learning the approved tactics and strategies. Earth's representatives smiled and nodded at every council meeting. But far beyond Neptune, in the frozen darkness of the Kuiper Belt. Something else was happening. Dr. Haywon Park floated through the corridor of Research Station Mjolnir, checking her tablet as she went. The station was built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, hidden from any casual sensor sweeps. 200 of Earth's best scientists and engineers worked here in total secrecy. Only a handful of people in the entire coalition knew this place existed. Dr. Park. A young man pushed off from a wall, drifting toward her in the low gravity. Engineer Dong-Hoon Lee looked exhausted. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but they shone with excitement. We did it. The power distribution problem is solved. Haywon grabbed a handrail to stop her drift. You're sure? Come see for yourself. They made their way to the main testing chamber. Through thick glass windows, Haywon could see the weapon. It looked almost simple compared to the flashy plasma cannons the Coalition used. 2 parallel rails, each 50 meters long, surrounded by massive power conduits and cooling systems. But Haywon knew what this simple-looking device could do. The XK-7 naval railgun, Dong-Hoon said proudly. We can now fire a 500-kilogram tungsten rod at 30% the speed of light. The antimatter reactor can charge it in 3 minutes. And the rails can handle the stress without melting. One stared at the weapon. Mathematics ran through her mind. At 30% light speed, the kinetic energy of that tungsten rod would be. She did the calculation and felt her stomach drop. That's more destructive power than any weapon in the Coalition arsenal. More than any 20 weapons in the air arsenal, Dong-Hoon corrected. And it leaves no energy signature. No heat bloom. Nothing for their sensors to detect until impact. LT. Commander Su Jin Bei walked up behind them. The weapons officer had left her position on a coalition ship to join the project. We've also solved the targeting problem, she said. At these distances and velocities, we need to account for relativistic effects. The computer can now predict target position within a margin of error of less than 2 meters at 15 million kilometers. 15 million kilometers, Haywon repeated. Coalition plasma weapons are effective to maybe 500,000 kilometers. We can hit them before they even know we're there. That's the idea, Sujin said. But she didn't look happy about it. Though I wonder if we should. Dr. Park, we've broken every weapons treaty in galactic history. If the Coalition finds out, they won't, said a voice from the doorway. Admiral Sang-Ho Choi entered the chamber. The admiral looked older than he had 3 years ago. The weight of command and secrecy had aged him. Not unless we need them to. Admiral, Haywon said, the weapon is ready for full-scale testing. Good, because we're running out of time. Sang-Ho pulled up a holographic display. These are intelligence reports from the border regions. Ships have been disappearing near the void, not just 1 or 2, dozens. The Coalition thinks it's equipment failures or navigation errors. But you don't think so. One said, I think something is coming. And when it arrives, the Coalition's pretty plasma cannons and shields won't be enough. Sang-Ho looked at the railgun. How soon can we mount one of these on a ship? Dong-Hoon exchanged looks with Su-Jin. The Indomitable is the only ship with the right power systems and structural reinforcement. We'd need at least 48 hours for installation. Maybe 72 to be safe. Keep it ready, Sang-Ho ordered. But don't install it yet. We need to maintain appearances. Over the next weeks, tension grew. More ships disappeared near the void. The Coalition held emergency meetings. Patrol routes were changed. Defense fleets were mobilized. But they still followed their ancient doctrines. Confident that their proven methods would be enough. Then the Coalition inspection came. Captain Tae-min Kim met the inspectors at the airlock of the Indomitable. Counselor Velther led the inspection team, accompanied by 2 Drakkar military analysts. They spent 3 days examining every system on the ship. Your plasma capacitors are impressive, Velther said, color shifting through his crystalline body. You've adapted quickly to coalition technology. We're fast learners, Tayman said with a smile he didn't feel. In his pocket, his communicator vibrated silently. A coded message from Admiral Sang-ho. Inspection at Mjolnir Station in 6 hours. That night, while the coalition inspectors slept in guest quarters, Tae-min contacted Hae-won on a secured channel. Are you ready? We've hidden everything we can, Hae-won replied. Her voice was tight with stress. The railgun is disassembled and scattered across 3 different storage sections. All our research data is encrypted and backed up on isolated servers. To any casual inspection, we're just a mining research station. Casual inspection, Tae-min repeated. What about a thorough one? One was quiet for a moment. Then we're exposed. And Earth becomes an enemy of the coalition. The inspection at Mjolnir Station happened the next day. Admiral Sang-ho personally gave the tour, showing coalition inspectors the mining research being conducted. He pointed out new drilling techniques and ore processing systems. All of it was real. All of it was boring. The inspectors looked through some files, scanned some equipment, and left after only 3 hours. But as they were departing, one of the Drakkar inspectors paused. Admiral, we detected a high-energy discharge from this region 2 months ago. What was that? Sang-ho didn't hesitate. Mining accident. We were testing a new explosive method for breaking up asteroids. The blast was larger than calculated. We lost some equipment, but no personnel. The Drakkar stared at him with reptilian eyes. Then, slowly, he nodded. Please be more careful. Unauthorized energy signatures make our defense forces nervous. After the inspectors left, Sang-ho found Hae-won in her office. She was shaking. That was too close. It was, Sang-ho agreed. But we're not stopping. Show me the test results from that mining accident. Hae-won pulled up the data. We fired the railgun at maximum power. The projectile traveled 15 million kilometers in less than a minute. It hit the target asteroid dead center. Define hit, Sang-ho said. The asteroid no longer exists, sir. It was completely vaporized. A rock 3 kilometers wide, reduced to atoms. Hae-won looked at the numbers on her screen. Admiral, we've created something terrible. Beautiful, but terrible. Sang-ho nodded slowly. Better we have something terrible than face the galaxy with only approved weapons. Remember, Dr. Park, we didn't invent violence. We're just refusing to forget how to defend ourselves. Meanwhile, at Coalition headquarters, reports continued to flow in. More ships were missing. Long-range sensors detected strange movements in the void, energy signatures that didn't match any known species. General Krenth stood before the council and demanded action. We must send a full fleet to investigate, Krenth said. And violate the ancient law against entering the void? Velther asked. That region has been forbidden for 2,000 years. Then we wait for whatever is in there to come to us? Velther's colors shifted to dark blue, a sign of worry. We follow protocol. We strengthen our border defenses. We trust in our shields and our weapons. They have protected us for 3,000 years. But in her quarters on Mjolnir Station, Hae-won Park couldn't sleep. She kept running calculations, checking numbers, making sure everything was perfect. The railgun was ready. The targeting system was ready. The power systems were ready. She had built the most powerful weapon in galactic history, and she had a terrible feeling they were going to need it very soon. Across the station, Dong-hoon worked through the night, triple-checking every connection, every circuit, every possible failure point. In the gym, Soo-jin practiced targeting drills, running through scenarios where she would have only one shot to save everything. They didn't know exactly what was coming, but they knew humanity's greatest strength, the ability to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. The Coalition trusted in their ancient weapons and ancient ways. Humanity trusted in innovation and adaptation. Only time would tell which philosophy would survive. The emergency alarm woke Captain Tae Min Kim from a deep sleep. He rolled out of his bunk in the officers' quarters and grabbed his uniform. The klaxon meant only one thing: war. "All officers to the bridge," came the announcement over the ship's speakers. "This is not a drill. Coalition Emergency Status Alpha." Tae Min ran through the corridors of the Indomitable. Other crew members rushed past him, moving to their stations. When he reached the bridge, the main screen was already displaying the situation. And it was bad. "Captain," Chi Ah-yoon said from her station. Her face was pale. "The void border. It's gone. Completely overrun." Tae Min looked at the tactical display. Red markers filled the screen. Hundreds of them. Each one represented an enemy ship. They had poured out of the void in a massive wave, catching the Coalition border defenses completely by surprise. "What are we dealing with?" Tae Min asked. "They call themselves the Kashari Dominion," Chia replied. "Coalition intelligence has almost no information on them. But, sir, they're destroying everything. General Krenth's flagship was hit in the first attack. He's dead. 60% of the border fleet is gone." Tae Min felt ice in his stomach. General Krenth had commanded over 200 ships. If 60% were destroyed, that meant how many casualties? He asked quietly. "At least 120,000 dead," Jia said. "In less than a week." The communication system crackled. A transmission came through from Coalition Command. Counselor Valther appeared on the screen, and for the first time, Tae Min saw fear in the colors shifting through the crystal being's body. "All Coalition forces," Valther said. "The Kashari have broken through our border defenses. They are advancing toward the core systems. All member species must contribute ships to the defense of Arcturus Station. If Arcturus falls, the route to 13 inhabited worlds will be open, including Earth." Tae Min turned to his crew. "Set course for Arcturus. Maximum speed." As the Indomitable jumped to faster-than-light travel, Tae Min studied the reports flooding in. The Kashari were unlike any enemy the Coalition had faced. Their ships were dark and angular, built for one purpose: destruction. They attacked with overwhelming numbers and showed no mercy. Civilian ships, cargo vessels, even medical transports were all destroyed without warning. But what terrified the Coalition most was how the Kashari fought. Their shields could adapt. When hit with plasma weapons, the shields analyzed the energy frequency and adjusted. After just a few shots, Coalition weapons became 70% less effective. The ancient tactics that had worked for 3,000 years were failing. Tae-Min called Admiral Sang-ho on a secure channel. "Sir, have you seen these reports?" "I have," Sang-ho replied. The Admiral looked tired but determined. "The Coalition is sending us to die with their outdated tactics. But I have a different plan." "The Railgun," Tae Min said. "The Railgun," Sang-ho confirmed. "I'm authorizing Project Mjolnir. Full deployment. Dr. Park and her team are on their way to you now with the components. You'll have 36 hours to install it before you reach Arcturus. Sir, if we use this weapon, the Coalition will know. They'll know we violated every treaty we signed." "Let them know," Sang-ho said. "Better to be alive and in trouble than dead and proper. Install the weapon, Captain. And if you have to fire it, don't miss." When the Indomitable dropped out of FTL near a remote refueling station, a transport ship was waiting. Dr. Hae-won Park, Engineer Dong-hoon Lee, and LT, Commander Sujin Bei came aboard with equipment containers marked as shield upgrades. The crew helped them load the containers into the weapons bay.Tay-Min found Hay-1 in the cargo hold, supervising the unpacking. "How long?" he asked. 40 hours if everything goes perfectly, she said. 36 if we skip safety checks. Skip them, Tay-Min ordered. We don't have time for perfect. The crew worked through the night. Engineers cut through bulkheads to install the power conduits. The ship's antimatter reactor was reconfigured to provide the massive energy needed. The rails themselves were mounted in what used to be the torpedo bay, their 50-meter length extending through 3 decks. Dong-Hoon barely slept, moving from system to system, checking connections. Su-Jin integrated the targeting computer with the ship's main sensors. Hay-1 coordinated everything, running calculations and simulations on her tablet. Tay-Min walked through the ship, watching his crew work with desperate speed. He stopped to talk with Jia, who was monitoring coalition communications. "What are they saying?" he asked. "The defense fleet is gathering at Arcturus," Jia reported. 85 coalition ships against a Kashari fleet estimated at 300. "Captain, those odds." "I know," Tay-Min said. "But we're not fighting with coalition tactics." Jia looked at him carefully. "Sir, what exactly are we going to do?" Tay-Min was quiet for a moment. Then he activated the ship-wide intercom. "All hands, this is the captain. I need to tell you something. Our ship has been equipped with a weapon that violates coalition law. A weapon that could make us criminals in the eyes of every species we've allied with. But it's also a weapon that could save millions of lives." He paused. "I won't order anyone to be part of this. If you want to transfer off the Indomitable before we reach Arcturus, I'll arrange it. No questions asked. No judgment." He waited. The intercom was silent. Then a voice came through from engineering. "Sir, this is Engineer Dong-Hoon Lee, speaking for everyone in engineering. We're not going anywhere. Let's show these Kashari what humans can do." More voices echoed the sentiment. From weapons, from navigation, from medical. Every department. Every crew member. "We're with you, Captain," Jia said quietly. Tay-Min felt something tight in his chest loosen. "Thank you. All of you." 35 hours later, the Indomitable arrived at Arcturus Station. The defense fleet was already assembled. Coalition ships from a dozen different species formed a defensive line between the station and the direction the Kashari would come from. Tay-Min took his position in the fleet formation, but he kept the Indomitable slightly behind the main line. Counselor Velther's face appeared on the communication screen. "Captain Kim, why are you not in formation?" "Technical difficulties with our shield alignment, Counselor," Tay-Min lied. "We're correcting them now. We'll be ready when the enemy arrives." Velther's color shifted to annoyed orange, but he didn't argue. He had bigger problems. Through the bridge windows, Tay-Min could see the coalition ships taking their positions. Shield walls forming. Plasma cannons charging. Every ship doing exactly what 3,000 years of doctrine told them to do. In the weapons bay, Dr. Hay-1 ran final checks on the railgun. "All systems green," she reported to the bridge. "Reactor at full power. Rails are charged. Waiting for target coordinates." "Stand by," Tay-Min said. He looked at his tactical officer. "When the Kashari arrive, I need you to identify their command ship. The biggest one. The one all the others are protecting." "Sir," Jia said nervously, "we're receiving long-range scanner data. The Kashari fleet is entering sensor range." The main screen updated. Red markers appeared at the edge of the display. Not dozens. Not hundreds. 300 Kashari warships, moving in perfect formation like a swarm of dark locusts. All ships Velther broadcast. Hold the line. Fight with honor. Remember your training. Tae Min looked at his crew. They looked back at him with trust and fear mixed together. He thought about Earth, 40 light years away. He thought about his family. He thought about every human who was depending on this moment. Dr. Park, he said quietly, begin the firing sequence. Yes, sir, Hay-1 replied. Deep in the ship, the antimatter reactor surged to maximum output. The Kashari fleet advanced. The battle for Arcturus Station was about to begin. And the galaxy was about to learn that humanity had not forgotten how to fight. The Kashari fleet moved like a wave of darkness. 300 ships, each bristling with weapons, advanced toward the coalition defense line. Captain Tae Min Kim watched on the tactical display as the distance closed. 8 million kilometers. 7 million. 6 million. All coalition ships, weapons free. Counselor Velther ordered. Engage the enemy. The space around Arcturus Station lit up with plasma fire. Brilliant blue and green bolts streaked across the darkness, crossing millions of kilometers in seconds. The coalition ships fired in perfect coordination, just as their doctrine demanded. Shield walls holding position. Supporting fire from the second line. Everything by the book. The Kashari shields absorbed the first wave of fire. Then something happened that made Tae Min's blood run cold. The Kashari shields changed color, shifted frequency, and the next wave of coalition plasma fire was noticeably weaker when it hit. They're adapting, Jia said from her station. Just like the report said. Their shields are learning from our weapons. On the screen, Tae Min could see the coalition ships firing again and again. But with each volley, the effectiveness decreased. 70%, 60%, 50%. The Kashari advanced without slowing dot. Then the Kashari returned fire. Their weapons were different. Not plasma, not lasers, something else. Dark energy pulses that seemed to eat through shields like acid through paper. The first coalition ship to get hit, a luminary cruiser, simply broke apart. No explosion, no fire. It just came apart into pieces. Casualties mounting, Jia reported. Her voice shook. 3 ships destroyed, 5 heavily damaged. The line is breaking. Tae Min watched as the battle unfolded. Coalition ships tried to retreat and regroup, tried to adjust their tactics. But they had trained for 3,000 years to fight one way, and that way wasn't working. The Kashari pushed forward relentlessly down in the weapons bay. Dr. Hay-1 Park stared at her console. Power at 100%, she reported. Railgun charged and ready. But Captain, we're still 5 million kilometers from optimal firing range. How close do we need to be? Tae Min asked. 4 million kilometers for a guaranteed hit. But sir, if we move forward now, we'll be exposed. Tae Min made his decision. All hands, brace for combat maneuvers. Helm, move us forward. Flank speed. The Indomitable surged ahead, breaking from the defensive formation. Other coalition ships scattered to avoid collision as the human vessel pushed through their lines. Captain Kim. Velther's face appeared on the screen, colors flashing angry red. What are you doing? Return to formation immediately. Negative, Counselor, Tae Min said calmly. We're engaging the enemy. You're committing suicide. Return to formation. Tae Min closed the channel. Jia, tactical analysis. Find me their command ship. Jia worked her console frantically. There, sir. Center of their formation. It's huge. Twice the size of anything else in their fleet. All the other Kashari ships are staying close to it. That's our target, Tae Min said. He opened a channel to the weapons bay. Dr. Park, Sujin, do you see it? We see it, LT. Commander Sujin Bei replied from the targeting station. Distance 4.2 million kilometers. Target is moving at 0.03% light speed. Course is steady. Lock it in, Taemin ordered. Target locked, Sujin confirmed. But Captain, at this range, travel time will be 89 seconds. If they change course, they won't have time, Taemin said. He looked around his bridge. His crew looked back at him. Young faces. Scared faces. Determined faces. Whatever happens next, I want you all to key in. Oh, it's been an honor serving with you. Likewise, sir, Jie said quietly. Tae-Min took a deep breath. Dr. Park, fire. Deep in the weapons bay, Hae-Won pressed the activation button. The antimatter reactor screamed as it dumped its entire charge into the railgun. Engineer Dong-Un watched the power flow, monitoring every connection, every circuit. The rails began to glow with heat. The tungsten projectile, 500 kilograms of dense metal shaped like a dart, was already positioned between the rails. As the electromagnetic pulse surged through the system, the projectile began to move. Slowly at first, then faster. Much faster. In 3 seconds, the projectile reached 30% the speed of light. The rails screamed with stress, but held. The projectile shot out of the Indomitable like a bullet from a gun. But this was no ordinary bullet. This was a relativistic weapon carrying more kinetic energy than anything the Coalition had ever created. There was no light show, no dramatic plasma bolt, no energy signature for sensors to track. Just a small piece of metal moving at 90,000 kilometers per second. Projectile away, Hae-Won reported. Travel time to target, 89 seconds. On the bridge, everyone was silent. Tae-Min counted in his head. The Coalition fleet was still fighting desperately. 2 more ships exploded. The Kashari kept advancing. 80 seconds. Counselor Valther was ordering a general retreat. The defense line had collapsed. Arcturus station would fall. 70 seconds. Sujin was tracking the projectile on sensors that could barely detect it. Still on target, she said. No deviation. 60 seconds. The Kashari command ship was firing at Coalition vessels, its dark weapons cutting through shields and armor. It was moving toward Arcturus station, leading its fleet to victory. 40 seconds. Coalition sensors are trying to lock onto something, Jia said. They're detecting a high-velocity object, but can't identify it. 20 seconds. The Kashari command ship continued forward, unaware. Its shields were strong. Its weapons were powerful. Its crew thought themselves invincible. 10 seconds. Impact in 9, 8, 7. 5 seconds. The tungsten projectile crossed the final 1,000,000 kilometers. No warning. No chance to dodge. No time to react. Impact. At 30% the speed of light. The projectile didn't just hit the Kashari command ship. It didn't punch through it or explode against it. The kinetic energy was so massive that the ship simply ceased to exist at the molecular level. Matter converted to energy in a flash that lit up space like a small sun. 800 megatons of energy released in a single instant. The command ship was gone, vaporized. Nothing remained but superheated gas expanding outward. The shockwave hit 6 nearby Kashari ships, and they crumpled like paper in a fire. For 15 seconds, every communication channel went silent. Human, Coalition, and Kashari alike simply stared at what had just happened. Then Jia broke the silence. "Sir, what did we just do?" "We won," Taemin said quietly. But he didn't feel victorious. He felt sick. 40,000 beings had just died in an instant. Enemy or not, that was 40,000 lives. The Kashari fleet had stopped advancing. Confusion rippled through their ranks. Their command ship was simply gone. No warning. No explosion. One moment it was there, leading the attack. The next moment, Nothing.T-Min opened a channel on all frequencies. Every ship in the battle would hear this, Coalition and Kashari alike. "Attention, Kashari fleet," he said, his voice steady. That was a human kinetic weapon, a railgun firing at 30% light speed. "We have 17 more ships equipped with this technology." It was a complete lie. Only the Indomitable had a railgun. But the Kashari didn't know that. "Leave Coalition space now, immediately, or we demonstrate again. You have 5 minutes to begin your retreat." The seconds ticked by. Taemin waited, hardly breathing. If the Kashari called his bluff, if they kept attacking, then the Kashari fleet began to turn, slowly at first, then faster. Within 2 minutes, the entire enemy fleet was retreating back toward the void. They jumped to FTL and disappeared from sensors. The battle was over. Arcturus station was saved. Counselor Velther's face appeared on every ship's screen. His crystalline body was dark blue, the color of shock. "Human vessel Indomitable," he said slowly. What? What have you done?" Tamin looked at the counselor. "We saved your station. You're welcome. You violated every weapons treaty in galactic history. That weapon, the power, you could destroy. A planet. We destroyed an enemy fleet," Taemin corrected. "Nothing more, nothing less." "Emergency council session," Velther said. "Now, Earth will answer for this." The transmission cut off. Taemin slumped in his command chair. Around him, his crew sat in stunned silence. They had won. They had saved millions of lives. But the cost of that victory was now becoming clear. "Captain," Jia said quietly, "what's going to happen to us?" Taemin looked at his young communications officer. "I don't know. But whatever happens, we did the right thing." In the weapons bay, Doctor, Hae-Won Park stared at the railgun. It was still hot, still glowing. She had built it. She had fired it. And she had just changed galactic warfare forever. For better or worse, nothing would ever be the same again. The council chamber on the Coalition homeworld was built to inspire awe. It was a massive sphere where representatives from 47 species gathered to discuss the fate of the galaxy. Today, it would judge the fate of humanity. Admiral Sang-Ho Choi stood in the center of the chamber, alone. Above him, around him, and below him, the representatives of the Galactic Coalition sat in their designated areas. He could feel their eyes on him. Some looked angry. Some looked afraid. A few looked curious. Counselor Velther's voice echoed through the chamber. "Admiral Sang-Ho Choi of Earth, you stand accused of violating the military convention, of developing weapons of mass destruction, of endangering galactic peace. How do you plead?" "Not guilty," Sang-Ho said calmly. "We saved the Coalition." The chamber erupted in angry shouts. Multiple languages mixed together in a chorus of accusation. Velther raised a crystalline arm for silence. "You destroyed a ship carrying 40,000 beings in an instant," a Draco representative said. "You used a weapon that violated every agreement your species signed. You lied to us about your weapons development." "Yes," Sang-Ho said simply. "We did all of those things. And because we did, Arcturus Station still exists. The 13 inhabited worlds behind it still have living populations. And the Coalition still stands." "At what cost?" Velther asked. "You've shown the entire galaxy that our weapons conventions can be ignored. You've started an arms race that could destroy us all." Sang-Ho looked around the chamber. "Let me ask you something. How long have your weapons conventions existed? 3,000 years? And in those 3,000 years, how many wars have been? Fought using those conventions?" "Hundreds," Velther admitted, "but all with minimal casualties. Civilized warfare. Civilized warfare Sang-Ho repeated. The Kashari didn't seem interested in being civilized. They adapted to your weapons in minutes. Your shields couldn't stop them. Your plasma cannons couldn't hurt them. How many ships did you lose before we fired our weapon? 40 ships? 50? The chamber was silent. 37 ships destroyed, a quiet voice said. 120,000 dead in the first week. Another 15,000 at Arcturus before the human weapon was fired. The speaker was an aquatic being, Ambassador Kyvex, who had sponsored humanity's entry into the coalition. I was there. I saw our fleets burn. Our ancient tactics failed because we fought the same way for so long that we forgot how to adapt. So you support this violation? Velther asked. I support survival, Kyvex replied. The humans saved us with a weapon we didn't approve of, but they saved us nonetheless. Dr. Hae-Won Park was called to testify next. She stood in the center of the chamber and explained the railgun in simple terms. It's not a weapon of mass destruction, she said. It's a kinetic weapon. We simply made it bigger and faster. Your conventions banned ballistic weapons because you thought they were primitive, but primitive doesn't mean ineffective. You could destroy a planet with that weapon, a luminary scientist accused. We could, Hae-Won admitted, but we won't. We built it to defend Earth and our allies, nothing more. The trial continued for 3 days. Witnesses testified. Evidence was presented. Captain Tae-Min Kim stood before the council and explained his decision to fire the railgun. Commander Soo-Jin Bae showed her targeting data. Engineer Dong-Hoon Lee explained the technical specifications, but the most powerful testimony came from the survivors of Arcturus Station, coalition officers who had watched their ships burn, civilians who had prepared for evacuation, knowing they would likely die. They stood before the council and said the same thing. Humanity saved them. On the third day, Velther called for a vote. Should Earth be expelled from the coalition and their weapons technology destroyed? The chamber fell silent. Then, one by one, the votes came in. The chamber was divided almost equally. Some species wanted humanity expelled. Others wanted to forgive the violation. The vote was deadlocked. Then Ambassador Kyvex spoke. I propose an alternative. Earth has shown us that our military doctrine has become stagnant. We've been so focused on maintaining peace that we forgot how to win wars. I propose we create a new category. Y of weapons, strategic deterrent weapons. Weapons that can only be used in existential threats with approval from the Council. Earth's railguns would fall into this category. You want to legitimize their violation? Velther asked. I want to learn from it, Kyvex replied. 3,000 years of tradition nearly cost us everything. Maybe it's time for something new. The debate continued for hours. Finally, a compromise was reached. Earth would not be expelled. The railgun would be classified as a strategic deterrent weapon, only to be used with Council approval or in cases of immediate threat. In return, Earth would share defensive technology with the Coalition and accept human officers serving as advisors too. Coalition military academies thought it wasn't a perfect solution. Many species remained angry. But it was enough. 5 years passed. The galaxy changed in ways no one had expected. Captain Tae-Min Kim was now Rear Admiral Kim. He stood in a classroom at the Coalition Fleet Academy, teaching young officers from a dozen species about human military tactics. Adaptation is survival, he told them. Your ancestors knew this. Somehow, over 3,000 years of peace, you forgot. Dr. Hae-Won Park led the Joint Human Coalition Weapons Research Division. She worked with alien scientists to develop new defensive technologies. The railgun had sparked a revolution in military thinking. Species that had used the same weapons for millennia were now innovating again. Admiral, Sang-Ho Choi had retired to a small house on Mars. He spent his days writing his memoirs and watching the news. Earth now commanded one of the most powerful fleets in the coalition. 20 ships equipped with railguns patrolled the borders. The Kashari had not returned. Engineer Dong-Hoon Lee stayed on as chief engineer of the new generation of railgun-equipped ships. Each one was more advanced than the last, more efficient, more powerful, more precise. Lt. Commander Su Jin-Bei trained coalition officers in targeting and fire control. She taught them to think differently about warfare, to be creative, to adapt. And Jia Yun had become Earth's youngest chief ambassador to the coalition. She negotiated trade deals and defense pacts with species that had once looked down on humanity as primitives, but not everyone was happy with the changes. Some species secretly developed their own kinetic weapons, despite the restrictions. The old guard in the coalition, led by Velther, argued constantly for a return to the old ways. "We've opened a door we cannot close," Velther said at one council meeting. "Weapons development is accelerating. The arms race has begun. Where does it end? It ends when we're too strong to be threatened," a Drakkar representative replied. "The humans taught us that strength keeps peace better than conventions." Tae Min stood on the observation deck of the Coalition Fleet Academy, watching ships conduct exercises in orbit. They were practicing new tactics, combining plasma weapons with kinetic strikes, using shields more creatively, moving unpredictably instead of in formation. A young luminary officer approached him. "Admiral Kim, may I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you regret it? Using the railgun? Starting all of this change?" Tae Min thought for a long moment. He remembered the Kashari command ship vanishing in a flash of light. 40,000 lives ended instantly. He still had nightmares about it. "Every day," he said honestly. "But I don't regret saving lives. The galaxy needed to wake up. We'd become comfortable, lazy. We thought we had all the answers. The Kashari proved we didn't. But now everyone is building weapons like yours. Aren't you afraid of what you've created?" Tae Min smiled sadly, terrified. "But that fear keeps us sharp, keeps us innovating, keeps us ready." He looked at the young officer. "Your people had 3,000 years of peace. That's beautiful. But peace without the strength to defend, it is just waiting to be conquered. We humans learned that the hard way on our own planet." The officer nodded slowly and walked away. Tae-Min returned to watching the ships. They moved like nothing the coalition had ever seen before. Fast, unpredictable, dangerous. Earth ships flew alongside luminary vessels, Drakkar cruisers, and Aquarian frigates, working together, learning from each other. On Earth, in a classified briefing room, military leaders discussed the future. "The Kashari will come back," one general said. "They'll be ready for the railguns next time. Then we'll have something else ready," another replied. "That's what we do. We adapt." In the void, sensors detected movement. Something vast. Something patient. The Kashari had retreated, but they were watching, waiting, learning. They had seen human weapons. Next time, they would be prepared. But humanity was preparing too. And so was the rest of the coalition, whether they admitted it or not. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Tradition and convention were beautiful things, but survival required more. It required innovation, creativity, the willingness to break old rules when new threats emerged. On the bridge of a new Earth warship, a plaque had been installed. It read, "Humans built railguns. A single shot shook the galaxy. May we never need to fire another." But 20 railguns sat ready in their firing chambers across the human fleet, just in case. The galaxy had changed. Perhaps for the better, perhaps for worse. Only time would tell. But one thing was certain. No one would ever call humanity primitive again. They had earned their place among the stars not through conformity, but through the courage to be different, to fight their own way, to refuse to die quietly just because the rules said they should. And in the end, that courage had saved them all. The Outer Rim was no longer the graveyard of empires. It was the birthplace of the future.